Okay, folks, Captain Paul here, and today I want to do an overview of the trip that we took. And next week I'll go through what went right and what went wrong on Snapdragon. But to start with, Snapdragon was a 58-foot Hatteras LRC, which stands for Long Range Cruiser. This boat holds 2,400 gallons of fuel, 800 gallons of water. It has twin 671 Detroits in it, and two main generators. One generator runs the propulsion. Here we are in the engine room. Barry's checking the engine oil, getting ready for AM departure. Anyway, so to explain the trip a little bit right now, there's four of us aboard. There's the owner, Carl. There's me, training captain, and the captain while he's getting his insurance certifications. And this is the morning that we take off. Barry's with us. Barry's an expert on the Hatterases, and he's also made this run several times. And he's a follower on the YouTube channel, so he decided to come with us, and you can see him up front there. Carl's at the helm taking the boat out of the slip. I pretty much let him do all of the dockings. Most of them, the only ones that I take over for is nighttime. So here we are in Hellgate. It's not Hell's Gate, it's Hellgate in New York. I've never run that before because the trip started in New Rochelle, New York, and it ended in Daytona Beach. And that's the gist of what happened. And like I said, today is just an overview of it. So here we are, we're heading down the coast here, and our initial destination is Norfolk, Virginia. We did not make that destination. We ended up pulling into Cape May, and it was absolutely probably one of the worst stops that you can get into in this size of boat because the draft in there is very, very tight. So here you can see we're anchoring in the middle of the night in the channel, basically in Cape May, setting up for tomorrow. Anyways, so we found out we lost a harmonic balancer out there, and here's Carl putting the new harmonic balancer on. After we receive the parts, I have to pull the boat out in probably one of the tightest dockings that I've ever done in my entire life. This is, there's barely enough room to get the boat. There's not even, the boat is at 65 feet overall, and there's not even enough room to turn the boat. I had to back it down a slip and then go. So the next day we go up, we have to go up the Delaware and then through the C&D Canal. So here we are just about entering the C&D Canal. We just run to the end of the C&D Canal this night, and then we jump on to the Chesapeake Bay the next day. And again, this is just an overview. Next week, I really want to talk about what went right and what went wrong on this trip right here, because this should have been about a 10 to 12 day delivery, and it ended up taking 15 days, and we'll talk about all that stuff. So here we are at the end of the C&D Canal, where we are going to take a rest and get up early in the morning. I always do try and get up right at sunrise, which was basically about 5 o'clock in the morning. And we try and run as late as we can every single night, especially on these deliveries, because it's best to push as hard as you can. So here you can see I'm in the bunk here, getting some much needed sleep here before we take off early in the morning, and for an AM departure. And now we have to go do the Chesapeake. I really didn't want to get involved in this Chesapeake. I really wanted to go in at Norfolk. This actually cost us 2 or 3 extra days right here on the trip. So here we are coming down the Chesapeake. Our first day out on the Chesapeake. We actually had some, the weather picked up a little bit, but then it got really, really calm, and we ended up pulling into a place called Leedsville. And that was, it was just outside of the Potomac. And the reason we stopped there is because we ran out of light. We pushed it as hard and as long as we could. So you can see us right here pulling in there. And then we actually fixed a few things while we were there. We still didn't know all the trouble that we were in with the boat, and we're all still learning the boat. Like I said, we had a crew of 4 on the boat, and it took all 4 of us here in the beginning. You can see Barry here. We're pulling into Leedsville. Actually, he's not happy because the restaurants are all closed. It's Sunday. Everything that could kind of go wrong went wrong as far as the timing of this trip, because it was a holiday weekend and we just didn't have the support and everything was kind of closed. Anyway, we get up. We end up staying in Leedsville for 2 days because the weather the next day was horrific. We stuck our nose out there and we just couldn't. We couldn't get the stabilizers to work. We couldn't get the boat. It just wasn't clicking, so we had to go back to the dock. And then the next day we head over to Norfolk, Virginia, where we find out that we have more mechanical problems, and this is where we figure out that our 32 volt system is not charging. It is kind of charging, but it's not charging. The alternators aren't working. So right now we're at Atlantic Yacht Basin. We put new batteries in the boat, and shortly after that I had to do a fix, and we'll talk about this, what went right and what went wrong, in next week's video on how we got that fix and how we did that. Anyway, we got the new batteries in. We ended up going to CoinJock. The next day, we stayed at Atlantic Yacht for 2 days, getting some much needed repairs done, and as we were learning the boat. And then we're off. Now we're in the intercoastal right now, and the three of us are just talking, and we're running through up here to Wrightsville, North Carolina. And man, it was just busy. Look at all these boats, man, just hundreds and hundreds of boats out there for the 4th of July weekend. Anyway, so we run all the way this night, all the way up to actually Wrightsville Marina. We go under the drawbridge. It got late on us, it got dark on us, and we just keep pushing the boat. By now, though, we have figured out the systems on this boat. We have our 32 volt systems working. We have our just the harmonic balancer's done. We've changed the raw water pump. We've got all of our mechanical issues that we've had with the boat are now fixed, and we're actually moving very, very fast now. We literally work from sun up to sundown to move this boat. And what took us 10 days to do, we're doing, the first 400 miles were excruciating, and then the last 600 miles were pretty easy, actually. The boat, everything ran good. You can see right here, we're putting some hydraulic fluid into the stabilizers, getting ready to head back out into the ocean here. And then this is the trip. It actually took about 44 hours is how long we were out there total. That was pulling into Jacksonville. After we pulled out of Cape Fear, we ended up taking the boat, staying in the intercoastal for about 3 days. And then on the 4th day, we popped out, and then we just made a straight 40-hour run over into Jacksonville. And 11 o'clock that night, we ended up at a little dock. I've actually been at that dock a few times before. It was pretty cool, actually. And then after we stopped there, the next day, we pulled it into the marina where in Daytona Beach. And so the first 10 days, the boat moved like 400 miles. It was heartbreaking, because that the total run on this should have been about 10 days. But after we got all the systems and everything figured out, and again, we'll talk about this a lot in next week's video on what went right and what went wrong, and we'll break down all of these the 3 major repairs, which was the first one, we lost the harmonic balancer. The next one is we figured out that we didn't have any 32 volt charging our batteries correctly. And then the third one was the raw water pump on the port engine was leaking. And all this kind of tied together because it was working the bilge pumps, and the bilge pumps are all on the 32 volt system, and sometimes they were working, sometimes they weren't working. So anyway, with a lot of diagnosis, we figured out that we didn't have anything really charging our 32 volt system, and we were every time we'd lose the 32 volt, it affected every part of the boat. And again, we'll talk about this in next week's video on what went right and what went wrong, and I'll break it down into depth with you. But anyway, it was just in the end, the trip, everything went really, really well. I couldn't have asked for a much better crew. I fell in love with Carl and Larry, their brother. You can see right here, this is our that 40 hours that we're running here. I couldn't ask for a better crew. Barry got off in Atlantic Yacht, and the reason is because we didn't know. We all thought at Atlantic Yacht the trip was over, like we're not going anymore. The ride was over. And so Barry went ahead and went home, and I was actually looking at a plane ticket to go home too, but we actually got a last minute fix to get the boat up and running, and we're able to take off and leave again. And just great footage here of the crossing. I loved being in that pilot house. We did run, those generators ran, the port generator ran, and again, I'll talk about this in next week's video, almost the entire time that we were on the trip. And the starboard generator, that's the one that runs the stabilizers. So anytime we were out in the ocean, that generator had to be running to run the stabilizers and the bow thruster. So when you were docking, you had to have that starboard generator running. But we pretty much had, especially the last 5 days of the trip, those generators both ran just about 24/7. We never shut them down. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the Snapdragon. There's going to be lots of videos. There's lots of changes coming to the channel now. I know I've talked about it. But my days at the Little Palm are coming close to an end now. I've got a bunch of more trips lined up. I got one possibly over to Alaska. I've got another one we're working on right now. And this is all about whether these boats can make it through the surveys or not. We got one up in Michigan right now that's going to come over to Louisiana. So we got to bring it down the river system. And then I have one that's possibly up in Canada on the west coast, and we're going to take that one through up through the Alaskan, through Alaska, and then back down over into Oregon. So I'm hoping to bring you guys along for the ride on that one as well. But again, these are all pending surveys and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying. I got a lot of videos and a lot of coverage of this trip with Snapdragon here. Absolutely, I can't say how blessed and how much I feel lucky to have been a part of this boat. You know, there was times when I would have, I didn't want to be there, but for the most part, it was unbelievable. I belong in the pilot house. I loved being in that pilot house. This particular boat, you know, the air-conditioned pilot house, the biggest problem, I'll give you one of the problems that we ran into, is the pilot house was fine. The air conditioner in the pilot house, you could set it and it would stay whatever temperature you wanted it to. But the main salon, the air conditioner would only come on and it would stay on. It was like you could hang meat in that room. And it would get so cold because I ended up sleeping in there a couple of times. And I would get so cold, I had to put so many blankets on. But it also kept the boat nice and cool too, you know, having that main salon that cold. But it was one of the issues that we had and the point is, I did enjoy very, very much being up here in the pilot house and driving the boat from there in the air conditioning. I rarely went up. I think I docked the boat once from the top station, and I went up there once with Barry, and me and him sat out there and listened to the radio coming down the Chesapeake. It was actually slick, calm. And me and him went out there and enjoyed some music, and for about a half an hour. But the total time that I spent up on that top bridge was probably less than 45 minutes the entire trip. Most of the driving, most of the docking, everything was done right here from this helm station right here. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. These trips aren't possible, and I'm glad that I'm able to bring you guys along on them. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. Bye. So it was awesome seeing Harold and Karen in their boat. I don't know how that all happened, but it did. Anyway, this is us in the intercoastal finishing it up. We're right here, just about 10 miles outside of Daytona Beach. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. Bye.